Door. Ha ha. Door. Law law. Law law. Door. Law law. Law law. Law law. Ha ha. Lawalaw. Door. Door.
Being a special ed teacher, this rent is super comfortable for me. I'm endlessly grateful that I have this. It's the hugest blessing of my life because I would not be able to afford an apartment of this size on my teacher salary. Welcome to my Upper West Side apartment. My name is Hattie. I'm 29 years old. I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I pay $1,300 a month in rent. I am a special education teacher. I'm also a part-time interior designer and part-time Instagram blogger. I think my favorite thing about my apartment is just when you step in, you feel like you're in another time period, and that was my biggest goal when doing all my projects. I really wanted to just preserve the history and character of this place. So the layout is unique. You just don't see a hallway like mine anymore. I really love my pantry area. There's an old dumbwaiter, all original cabinets. So you really just feel like you're living in 1900. I am a lifelong New Yorker and also lifelong Upper West Sider. Before we lived here, we lived in another smaller apartment, and then we moved here when I was 10, and I have been here ever since. So I live in a rent-stabilized apartment, which is why it's so low in cost. When my parents moved into this apartment, it was a rent-controlled apartment, but because they took over the lease, it became rent-stabilized. We're not able to remember the exact number of the rent when we moved in, but I've tried to look back as far as I can in paperwork, and I can definitely say that it was under $1,000. This exact apartment, a couple floors up, went 2 years ago, I believe, for 38, maybe 36, but around that range. I think my friends just look at me in disbelief and then roll their eyes, but I think they're pretty happy for me. Growing up, my parents I don't think they were able to afford to ever buy in Manhattan, and also living in Manhattan, it's really quite the norm to be a renter forever. A lot of people ask me, why don't you just buy the apartment? Well, it's not up for sale, and I could never afford it. So my mom was also a teacher, so that's the reason that they got this apartment, and then they hung on to it for me because they knew it would be just such a great deal for me. So when my parents first told me that their plan was to transfer the lease into my name, I actually wasn't into the idea. I don't really know what was wrong with me, but I didn't like my apartment. I didn't think it was nice, and I maybe in my naive mind thought that I would be able to afford something nicer, but Once they moved out, I got really interested in interior design and DIYs, and I realized that this is such a gem of an apartment and they don't make them like this anymore, and it's such a unique space, so I'm really happy that I changed my mind. I love the Upper West Side. It's definitely my favorite area in the whole city. I feel so blessed to have grown up here. The neighborhood has changed a lot in my lifetime, but I still really enjoy the neighborhood because there are still a few small businesses that are open. I love being surrounded by two beautiful parks, and I love being away from Midtown and downtown and all those noisy parts of New York. So I live in a really old building. This building was built in the 1890s, and I have absolutely zero amenities, but that's okay with me because I would much rather have space and charm. When I got started on working on this apartment, the main thing I wanted to do was to undo all of the weird renovations that other tenants had done. They had built walls over pocket doors. They took out original glass inserts in doors. And I just wanted to kind of restore all that and get it back to its original charm. So this is my foyer. I recently painted it. I wanted to create definition from this room and the hallway, and I really wanted this to feel like its own room. About a year ago, I wallpapered my front door. This is one of the moldings that I put up that's not original. I think the reason why this wall didn't have any moldings is because originally this apartment was combined with the one next door, so this wall wasn't even here. I thrifted this mirror and I gilded it myself just with some rub and buff. It's a really quick and easy project. And I also thrifted this table. My dresser here, this is the only piece of furniture that my parents left me with, and this was my grandparents way back in the 40s when they lived in Kentucky. And I recently just had it looked at by an antique expert, and it's apparently from like 1800s, so super old, and I was really excited to learn that. So this is my library room. This used to be my childhood bedroom. I used to have it painted purple and pink curtains, pink everything. And then as I got older, kind of lessened with the pink. And then initially I had this as my guest bedroom, so I just had a bed and a dresser. But then I decided to make the space more functional for me. So I got this sleeper sofa, I got these bookshelves, desk, and I just turned it into a little reading room. This is my living room slash dining room. It's where I do my TV watching and meals eating. Probably my favorite purchase that I've ever made is my Samsung Frame TV. Right now it's off and it's in art mode, and you can set it to any art you want. So now we are standing in the master bedroom. This used to be my parents' bedroom, but originally when this building was built, this apartment and the one next door would have been combined. So this room would have actually been a dining room. This was the first room that I made a bold color choice in, and I chose to do a dark navy paint for the walls. This is my favorite fireplace. It's not real marble, it's just contact paper. I put fairy lights in the fireplace to give the illusion of a real fire, and the logs that you see in there are actually original, and if you look closely, they have little holes in them where the gas and fire would have come out of. So one of the first things I think I bought for my own apartment after my parents left was this light fixture. I just saw it and I thought it was really cool. They're tassels. I changed every single light fixture except 2 so far. I wanted really modern, kind of spindly chandeliers to play off all of the antiques that I have going on. So this is my pantry, or butler's pantry, I guess you could call it. It's definitely one of my favorite parts of the house just because it's so old school and it's just in its original condition. This here is a dumbwaiter. It's no longer functioning, but back in the day, you'd be able to put stuff in it and go up and down to other apartments. These cabinets are 100% original, and I just love them. They just make me feel like I'm living in another time. Back here, built some little shelves to keep food and cooking supplies on. So here is my tiny kitchen. I like it and I can cook in it, which is all that matters. My parents put in these IKEA cabinets and counters a few years back. When we first moved in, there was the original 1890 something sink, and it was about yay high and it was dreadful. So they did this, and then a few years later I painted in here, I did the backsplash, I did the shelves, just added a few touches.